Hey everybody, welcome to The Real Scoop, where we talk about all things real estate. I'm Erica Gilmore. I am a real estate attorney, agent, and a real estate investor here in Columbus, Ohio. And today I'm super excited to talk to you about the title commitment. I know that sounds crazy. Most people would rather be committed in an insane asylum than read through the title commitment that you receive. But it's super important, and I just did it today for my property, so I wanted to briefly go through it with you guys, and hopefully it'll be helpful. So if you don't know, the title commitment is a commitment from a title insurance company or a promise that they're going to provide you with title insurance. Title insurance, as you probably know, protects your property in the event that someone comes to claim a lien on your property. You just close on the property, and a week later someone walks in and knocks on the door and says, I own this place, you don't own it. So you pick up the phone and call your title insurance company. So here in Ohio, and even more specifically in Columbus, because it's very regionally specific, but the seller typically pays for title insurance. But remember, everything in the contract can be negotiated, so keep that in mind. But that's just totally for another post. So here I've got my title commitment. And another thing is I received my title commitment late. You are supposed to receive your title commitment a certain amount of time before you close, in this case 15 days. I did not receive, I'm closing in less than 15 days, and I just received my title commitment. So back to that post on why dates matter. If I wanted to get out of the contract, I could legally, because the seller failed to provide me with title insurance, title insurance commitment 15 days before closing. So that would make the seller really upset, and probably mostly upset with their agent for not following up with this, because what seller pays any attention to when the title commitment is supposed to be delivered? So I got my title commitment, back to that, and I am an attorney, and I guess I never said I also got my title agent's license a few years ago and started my own title company. So I no longer have it, my license is inactive, but I have some knowledge about a title commitment. So what I stress all the time is, number one, read the commitment. As the buyer, you should be reading your title commitment, and the buyer's agent should be reading the title commitment too, so they can point out any problems with it. And I'll just go through it briefly and point out a couple of things that I did in order to try to help myself get better title insurance. So the first part, you'll see the requirements, the things that the buyer needs to do prior to closing in order to get this insurance. Basically, pay the bill, pay the purchase price of the contract. And a few other things, so make sure you go over that. But I specifically want to go over the exceptions portion, and I'm over here looking at it because it is really long and detailed, and I can't memorize all of it. So if you look at the exception portion of your title commitment, I know it's all very exciting, but again, really necessary. So I went through it myself, I read it, and it says, basically, we're going to insure your property except for these 21 standard exceptions. Keep in mind, those are standard exceptions that all insurance companies put on their title commitments. Luckily, in my case, there were no specific exceptions, which means they did their title search and they found that there is a giant lien on the property. So that's a red flag that's specific to this property. And that is a huge red flag and something that they should be working on clearing before you close. So we can go over specific exceptions in another video. Luckily, I didn't have any in this particular deal. But I will go over just a couple of the standard exceptions to show that you can get some of them removed from the commitment. So I called the title company. Yes, I have done this before. Yes, I'm an attorney, I'm a real estate agent, but I still had questions, and so that's what they're there to do, is help. So they put me directly in contact with the escrow agent that will be closing my loan it's not a loan, sorry, it's a cash deal, closing next Friday. So I had some questions I wanted to ask her. I wanted to know, hey, do you do one more search right before we close? Because if you'll notice, exception number 1 is they will not cover any title defect from the date of the commitment, which in this case was December 31st, to the date of the closing. And so if in that period of time somebody puts a lien on your property, they are saying, nope, we're not covering it. It's not an exception, or it's not covered. It is an exception. So I want to know, hey, do one more search right before I close. And if the day before closing or the hour before closing, it pops up that some workman put a lien on the property, someone came in, there's a tax lien, something, then you have to get that resolved. I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to close. The seller owes me marketable title free and clear of liens. And if that pops up, I want it resolved before I pay for this property. So that was a big one. I asked, hey, do you do another title search right before closing? She said, yes, in this case they would. So plus for me. The next thing I wanted to ask about was a survey. I noticed that there were no boundary disputes that came up in my title commitment, no encroachments, no easements, nothing specific to this particular property. But I wanted to ask, did you do a survey? They should, but maybe they forgot. So I said, did you do a survey? And then 2, can you send it to me? Because you're entitled to review it for yourself. So she's going to go ahead and send that to me. Didn't look like there were any boundary problems, but I just want to know for sure for myself, see with my own 2 eyes. So I asked about that. The next thing I asked about, one of the exceptions says we will remove some exceptions to this exception list if inspections and surveys and things like that are done. They won't remove them unless you ask them to. So I said, okay, can you remove these 3 exceptions because we've gotten a survey and you're telling me there's no disputes. So she said, well, I got to double check with our attorneys, but we'll see if we can remove those exceptions. So plus number 2 for me. Yay. But again, if you don't read it and you don't ask and you just look at it and say, I don't know, you don't have to call an attorney. Just call a title company. They should have the answers, and they have their own attorneys that can help you. So so that was the second one that I looked at. And then, this is a biggie, taxes. I noticed that there were no taxes that were paid or unpaid on this property. That's a red flag. Your title commitment should show you the taxes that have been paid for the year that it's supposed to be paid for, what's due and coming up, so you can kind of plan for that if you want to. But the taxes should be paid up until when the seller gives over possession of to you of the property. So there were no taxes on here. So I said, where's the taxes? What are the taxes? What's been paid? Is anything outstanding? And she said, oh, well, they have new software. The taxes didn't impute. Let me send you a revised commitment so you can look at it. So there I caught a mistake, not really a mistake on their part, but it's information that I need to know before I close to make sure there's no taxes due and payable, because taxes stay with the property. So you will be responsible for those tax liens. And then finally, what I thought was interesting and I didn't even know, they don't deal at all with water charges or liens on the property. So you physically have to call the water company, in this case the city of Columbus, and say, hey, do you have any are there any outstanding water bills on this property? Because water bills also go with the property. So if you close and there's an outstanding water bill, you're now responsible for that water bill. You have to pay it. So what I did was the title escrow agent said, no, we don't look into that. You need to do it yourself. So I called City of Columbus and I sent an email to the selling agent saying, hey, please confirm that there aren't any outstanding water bills. So just things you want to check on. So those were kind of the biggies on the title commitment that I looked at. And again, There could be other ones. There could be specific exceptions, just specific to that piece of property again. And if those are on there, those are red, red, red flags. You want to understand at least what they are and if you're okay with them, and if you can move on despite the fact that there are exceptions. So again, I hope this was helpful. I really think you should read it, whether you are a first-time home buyer or any home buyer of your personal property. If you're interested in getting involved in real estate investing, you really need to read that title commitment. And if you're an agent, you should also look at the title commitment, read it, make sure you've gotten it 15 days before closing, and then read it, go through it with your client, because it's difficult. It's difficult information and they don't know what's standard, what's not standard. So if you can provide that information to them, then you just look like you're a very knowledgeable professional agent that can bring value to their clients. So I think this can be helpful for so many people. I think it's super exciting, which I'm sure no one else does, but I just hope that I can help prevent you from getting yourself in a situation that at least you could have been aware of before you closed and gotten resolved. So thanks again for watching, and continue to check out my channel. Subscribe, that would be awesome, and check out my website at thereallifescoop.com, where we talk about all things real estate sales, real estate law, real estate investing, and real life fun stuff. So have a great weekend, and I hope to hear from you soon.